10 years of blood, sweat, and glory, only to realize we were never the heroes of this story.
Did you really think a god would bother keeping his pawns after the game is won?
Hello, everyone. This story is a dark, adrenaline-fueled descent into betrayal, following Bai, Linhua, and their elite Divine Core unit as they fight to save humanity from demonic threats. But what happens when the very power you serve turns its blade against you? You won't believe how quickly their dream mission turns into a nightmare. Subscribe to Bellion for more epic Manhwa breakdowns. If you could choose one supernatural ability to survive a dungeon, what would it be? Enjoy the watch.
Magic permeated the world and birthed dangerous demonic caves. Monsters swarmed from the depths to threaten human civilization. Special individuals emerged with unique powers to combat the rising tide. These gifted warriors were known throughout the land as the Awakened. A terrifying demon king named Belelphegor commanded the 5 elements. The Divine Core stood as the strongest unit of these elite hunters. Their commander Bai led the group for 10 long, brutal years. Orders arrived from a higher authority they simply called God. The team stood before the entrance of the 100th high-level cave. Lightning assassin Lin Yua gripped her blades with electric intensity. Cloud mage Hans Shaolin stood ready with his elemental staff raised. This L-class mission promised the team a long-awaited vacation upon completion. Star Conductor Lucian activated the gravitational pull to crush nearby demons. Commander Bai directed the battlefield with the precision of a nuclear saint. His strategy ensured the total destruction of the Demon King's forces. Lin Yua sheathed her weapons and expressed mild boredom at the speed. A hooded figure shadowed the group while murmuring about the mission's difficulty. Bai dismissed the concerns and insisted they celebrate in the holy capital. Lin Yua clung to the commander's arm while whispering a flirtatious suggestion. Hans Shaolin rolled his eyes at the commander's lack of social awareness. The group turned toward the exit, but Bai noticed a missing teammate. He assumed the slacker had stayed behind to avoid the heavy lifting. A dark silhouette suddenly materialized behind the unsuspecting heroes. The stranger raised a hand and triggered a lethal purge operation. The team collapsed as a sudden strike shattered their defenses. Hans Shaolin fell to the earth with his skull crushed inward. Blood pooled beneath his body as the attacker continued his divine mission. Bai reached for his sword but found his limbs completely unresponsive. A paralyzing powder had tainted every meal he consumed for a month. The stranger unleashed a forbidden skill, known as the Binding Vines. Green tendrils erupted from the ground to coil around their helpless bodies. Bai struggled against the constriction while gasping for air. The masked man with dreadlocks claimed this massacre was God's direct command. The L-class operation was a trap designed to cleanse the players themselves. The vines tightened until the bones of the warriors began to crack. Bai's vision blurred as he clung to his final shred of consciousness. He demanded to know why his loyal unit deserved such a cruel fate. The man with dreadlocks laughed and called the commander a naive fool. He explained that God required no reason to extinguish his own creations. Crimson blood sprayed from the commander's pores as the pressure intensified. Bai pleaded for mercy by reminding the killer of their 10-year bond. The traitor sneered at the mention of family and shared history. He revealed that their entire lives had been orchestrated as mere pawns. The killer admitted his long-standing disgust for the team he infiltrated. He claimed that playing the role of a friend was a tiresome job. A clock ticked toward May 22, 2125, marking the end of the operation. The traitor stepped forward and fired a final shot into Bai's skull. Silence claimed the cave as the bodies of the heroes grew cold. A dark sphere suddenly coalesced above the commander's lifeless corpse. A distant, echoing voice offered the young man a desperate deal. Bai blinked in a void where heavy chains bound his wrists. A man in a sharp suit appeared surrounded by 5 swirling elements. The commander recognized the demon king Belelphegor standing before him. Belelphegor claimed the realm was his own soul and personal life force. He offered a secret skill known as life regression to the victim. Bai envisioned the corpses of his friends and the traitor's mocking grin. The commander swore a blood oath to destroy the false gods. Belelphegor smiled and pressed a glowing heart into the young man's chest. Darkness swallowed the demon as the void began to shatter. A sharp voice pierced the silence and demanded that he wake up. Bai opened his eyes to see a teacher glaring with pure fury. He stared at his own hands and realized his body was young again. The classroom walls stood around him, pristine and untouched by time. The teacher shouted that sleeping before the awakening ceremony was sheer insolence. She pointed to the back of the room and ordered him to stand. Bai stood up and scanned the faces of his long-dead classmates. He felt the hum of potential energy hidden deep within his blood. The teacher paced the front of the room while explaining the elemental forces. She listed electricity, plants, clouds, nuclear power, and stellar energy. Each student possessed the potential to harness only one of these paths. The teacher raised her hand to demonstrate her own rare cloud element. Awakened abilities were categorized into combat, support, and special roles. The most prestigious guild featured a star mage and a nuclear bard. Students listened with wide eyes to the hierarchy of their future status. Professional rankings moved from dust, coal, and abyss up to heaven. Bai watched the scene unfold with the weight of 20 years of memory. He stepped into the school courtyard where nostalgia hit him like a wave. He spotted his former friend with glasses walking near the academy fountain. A bespectacled boy lies sprawled on the school courtyard pavement. A group of older students looms over him with sneers. One bully, Hong Chong-shang, grinds his boot into the boy's hand. He mocks the victim as useless trash reliant on artificial tech. Hong declares that his own rare red rank makes others mere insects. The terrified boy offers his pocket money as a desperate apology. Bai watches the scene from the edge of the courtyard. He recognizes the bully from his own painful past life. Hong thrives on chaos and constantly seeks out violent conflict. Teacher Huang steps into the frame with a sharp, commanding glare. She orders the group of bullies to cease their harassment immediately. Hong waves a wad of cash dismissively in the teacher's face. He claims the nerd provoked him by bumping into his shoulder. The bully eyes the teacher with a mixture of arrogance and lust. He thinks that if she were not so beautiful, he would have fired her. Teacher Huang ignores the insult and pulls the bespectacled boy upright. The bullies retreat, but Hong pauses to issue a final threat. He promises to laugh at these weaklings when they return later. The teacher leads her class toward the massive awakening hall. She reminds the students to remain calm to avoid physical injury. Two distinct methods exist for unlocking a person's latent power. Natural awakening occurs automatically during moments of intense emotional stress. The Awakening Hall offers a second, artificial path for the masses. Scientists designed the chamber to stimulate adrenaline and force a breakthrough. A student enters the machine as the containment glass seals shut. The device triggers a shock that forces one elemental energy outward. Awakening marks the final reset point of a person's entire life. It dictates every scrap of social status and future career potential. Bai finally steps inside the humming, metallic awakening chamber. The teacher shouts a reminder for him to focus and stop being lazy. In his previous life, Bai awakened as a lowly nuclear warrior. He suffered years of bullying due to that weak, dusty rank. He stands in the center of the chamber waiting for a result. The machine pulses with light, but the screen remains blank. Bai breaks into a cold sweat as anxiety grips his chest. A sudden error message flashes crimson across the control console. A searing heat radiates from his core like a lightning strike. The system displays a prompt confirming 5 elements detected at once. The Infinite Awakening system activates within his consciousness. He now possesses the potential to harness every elemental path. He can choose any starting class based on these 5 energies. New classes will unlock as he accumulates specific elemental power. He can evolve his initial class through dedicated elemental growth. Infinite possibilities open before him, spanning dust to heavenly ranks. He recalls the Demon King Belelphegor and his dark promise. The system requires him to select one initial class immediately. The classroom door swings open and Bai steps back into the light. Teacher Huang rushes forward to ask about his awakened status. Bai lowers his head and admits he awakened as a green rank warrior. The teacher's expression softens with pity and forced encouragement. She tells him that even low-rank warriors can achieve great things. Bai remains silent while she insists the world will not abandon him. He knows she is only offering him kind, toxic positivity. The teacher sends him home to rest after the draining process. Hong stands near the fountain and bursts into loud, mocking laughter. He calls the teacher's words a lie meant to soothe weaklings. Hong gestures to the other students and points at Bai's chest. He says the boy's dusty rank seals his fate at the bottom. The bully claims the gods only care for the strong elite. Teacher Huang tries to silence him, but Hong refuses to stop. He explains that dusty rank students belong at the back of the room. Society reserves the best resources for those with power and bloodlines. A dusty rank warrior can only ever hope for low-level manual labor. The teacher realizes the harsh social reality is impossible to deny. Her own flickering rank forces her to work for meager pay. Bai reaches out and snatches the teacup from Hong's hand. He splashes the steaming liquid directly into the bully's face. Hong freezes in shock while the liquid drips down his chin. The bully roars and activates his magical energy in a rage. He charges forward with his fist glowing with star-killer power. Teacher Huang screams for him to stop the violent assault. Bai stands his ground and raises his hand to block the strike. He parries the incoming blow with a precise, fluid motion. The force of the impact rebounds and sends Hong flying backward. The bully skids across the asphalt with his back scraping the ground. Silence falls over the courtyard as the students stare in disbelief. Bai stands calmly with a basic light sword resting on his shoulder. He declares that he chose the nuclear warrior class of his own volition. Hong scrambles to his feet with a look of pure, unbridled hatred. He claims the boy only landed a lucky hit by pure chance. The bully summons his abyss-rank energy to crush the insolent kid. Teacher Huang watches the boy with a look of growing confusion. She recognizes the movement skill he used to deflect the strike. It is a high-level parrying technique that nullifies all incoming damage. Even master instructors failed to learn that move in 10 years. She wonders how a beginner achieved such perfection on day one. Hong pulls a jagged bayonet from his belt and charges again. He screams that he will make the boy crawl in the dirt. Bai watches the incoming attack with cold, detached eyes. He knows the true value of the path he just chose. The nuclear warrior class hides a power that others cannot see. He prepares to dismantle the bully with his newfound system. Teacher Huang steps between the two students to halt the conflict. She pleads with them to remain civil as future comrades in arms. Hong sneers, refusing to back down from the supposed piece of trash. He demands that Bai kneel and beg for mercy in the dirt. Bai observes the bully with a cold, analytical gaze. He recognizes the vast difference in their stats and potential bonuses. The teacher radiates a soft light, attempting to pacify the aggressive teen. Hong stands tall as a Class E star killer with superior attributes. The Abyss rank possesses twice the starting power of a Dusty rank. Most students believe this power gap is entirely insurmountable. The bespectacled classmate watches in horror, fearing for Bai's safety. He believes direct resistance against someone like Hong is pure suicide. Hong screams and launches himself forward in a blur of motion. Teacher Huang shouts a warning, but her voice falters in the air. She anticipates Bai blocking the strike again despite the energy cost. Hong lunges with his arm raised, shouting that evasion is impossible. Bai offers a faint, childish smile instead of pulling away. He stands perfectly still, showing no intention to dodge the incoming blow. Hong activates his unique skill, a high-speed dash called Swiftness. The bully blurs across the courtyard, closing the distance in an instant. Bai shifts his weight and slides through the attack like a ghost. He appears suddenly behind the stunned bully, leaving him wide open. A crimson spray of blood erupts from Hong's face onto the pavement. The bully collapses to his knees, coughing as he gasps for air. Anger twists Hong's features as he struggles to comprehend his defeat. The surrounding students whisper, unable to track the speed of the exchange. Most onlookers assume Hong simply tripped and fell on his own. The bespectacled boy chuckles softly, enjoying the bully's sudden humiliation. The girl with the pink bob watches from afar with a suspicious frown. She doubts the official story that Hong lost his footing. Hong's skill was an enhanced flash step, yet it failed to land. Bai remains calm, checking his system interface for combat rewards. He earns 50 elemental points for the victory against an active user. The total is low, but he intends to grind the labyrinth soon. The nuclear warrior class offers rare skills as he advances in rank. Hong scrambles upright, gripping a jagged dagger hidden in his belt. He prepares to ambush the boy, his eyes burning with murderous intent. He finally stops in front of a familiar, modest family home. He struggles to catch his breath, his hands trembling against his knees. Images of a blood-stained boy and a violent man haunt his thoughts. He resolves to change the past, even at the cost of his life. Inside, a man sits on the couch laughing at a television program. A woman in an apron cleans the kitchen, humming to herself. Bai appears at the window, his eyes wide as he spots them. His parents turn in surprise, noting that he returned home early. Bai stares at his mother, tears streaming down his face in silence. He is overwhelmed with joy to see her alive once again. The woman uses sign language to offer him a bowl of noodles. Bai shakes his head, begging her to prepare pickled fish instead. He insists they go to the store together to find the ingredients. The woman hesitates, but she cannot refuse her son's tearful plea. His father calls out from the couch, annoyed by the interruption. He tells the boy to stop bothering his mother with petty requests. The man grumbles that his son did not even greet him properly. Bai ignores the father, grabbing his mother's hand to lead her out. He remembers the date clearly, knowing the danger is fast approaching. The woman smiles and takes off her apron, following her son outside. They step out into the sunlight, heading toward the local market stalls. Bai keeps a tight grip on her hand, scanning the busy street. He watches every shadow, searching for the threat he knows is coming. A black sedan pulls slowly toward the curb near the intersection. The engine idles with a low, ominous hum that vibrates the air. Bai pulls his mother behind a wooden pillar, his heart pounding hard. He recalls the records from his previous life regarding this specific day. The man in the sedan is a rival who seeks to destroy his family. Bai prepares his core energy, feeling the 5 elements pulse within. He lacks a high-level weapon, but his system skills are already active. The car window rolls down, revealing a masked man with a gun. The assassin aims directly at the mother, his finger on the trigger. Bai lunges forward, his hands glowing with a faint golden aura. He strikes the car door, denting the metal with a heavy thud. The assassin swerves, his shot firing harmlessly into the sky above. People in the street scream and scatter as the car speeds away. Bai stands in the middle of the road, protecting his mother's body. He knows the fight has only just begun for his family's survival. His mother looks at him with confusion, not understanding the sudden violence. Bai leads her back inside, locking every door and window securely. He warns his father to stay away from the street until sunset. The father laughs, calling him a paranoid fool for his strange behavior. Bai turns away, ignoring the ridicule to focus on his internal map. He needs to find a safe location to train his awakened powers. The labyrinth entrance lies on the outskirts of the district, hidden away. He realizes he must leave his parents to protect them from afar. He leaves a note on the table, promising to return by morning. He slips out the back door, disappearing into the dark city alleys. The night air is cold, but his determination burns hot and bright. He reaches the edge of the industrial sector where the rift pulses. The energy signature of the dungeon is weak, perfect for a beginner. He steps through the shimmering barrier, entering the first floor of chaos. Monsters made of jagged rock and shadow wait in the dim light. Bai draws a simple steel sword he retrieved from the school locker. He feels the system interface sync with his heartbeat in the dark. The first slime beast leaps at him, its body dripping with acid. Bai pivots and slices through its core with a single, clean strike. The monster dissolves into experience points, filling his hollow energy bar. He smiles, knowing he is now far stronger than his past self. He climbs the stone stairs, ready to claim the power he deserves. Every floor of the labyrinth brings him closer to the Demon King. He will not allow anyone to rewrite his destiny this time around. He slashes through a pack of wolves, his movements fluid and precise. Blood splatters his boots, but he does not slow his steady pace. He is the master of his own path, fueled by infinite potential. The system pings with a notification of a new, hidden skill unlock. He reads the text, realizing he has surpassed his original class limit. He is no longer just a nuclear warrior, but something far greater. He stares into the depths of the dungeon, ready for the boss. Bin Sheng stands in the center of the living room. The S-class electric warrior glares at his son with burning eyes. He demands to know the results of the boy's awakening ceremony. Bai bows his head and keeps his voice low and steady. He tells his father that he failed to awaken any power today. The father scoffs and paces across the hardwood floor. He criticizes the boy for returning home so early from school. Bin Sheng boasts about his own status as an Abyss-class warrior. He insists his son should have at least reached a similar rank. The man claims he sacrificed everything to provide for this family. He screams at the boy to admit his true class rank. Bai remains silent as his father's face turns bright red with rage. Without warning, the man grabs a glass bottle from the table. He swings the bottle with full force at the boy's head. The glass shatters against Bai's skull, spraying shards across the room. Blood trickles down the boy's forehead into his wide, unblinking eyes. The father shouts that his son is nothing but useless dust. He calls the boy a pathetic failure and a disgrace to the house. Bai stares at the man, seeing him not as a father, but as a monster. He recalls the dark memories of his previous life hidden in the past. In that timeline, his father broke his mother's leg during this same beating. His mother, Ruan, had tried to shield her son from the violence. The man had swung a wooden chair until he exhausted his own fury. Bai remembers weeping over his mother's broken, bloodied body. History attempts to repeat itself inside this cramped apartment. Bai wipes the blood from his eyes and assesses his current strength. He is currently a rank E nuclear warrior with limited options. His father looms over him, demanding he stand up like a man. Bin Sheng crackles with electric energy. His body hums with lethal intent. The man reaches down and drags the boy up by his hair. He curses the mother for giving birth to such a worthless fool. Bai had sent his mother away specifically to avoid this tragedy. He wanted to keep her safe while he confronted the coming storm. The front door creaks open, revealing his mother standing in the frame. She holds a bag of groceries, her eyes widening at the scene. She drops the bag, the sound of falling cans echoing through the hall. Bin Sheng turns his head, his expression twisted into a cruel grin. He decides that the woman must also pay for her failures. In the dark silence of a prison, the memory shifts to a different time. Two inmates whisper in the shadows of their cold, iron cell. They wonder how the boy advanced from a green rank to platinum. They question why he is here if he is not a death row inmate. Bai lowers his head in the prison, haunted by the memory of his mother's death. Back in the apartment, the father raises a heavy chair above his head. He prepares to strike his wife as she rushes to protect her son. Bai moves with a sudden, unnatural burst of speed. He lunges between his parents, taking the full impact of the chair. His ribs snap under the pressure, but he does not collapse. The mother screams in horror, clutching her hands to her mouth. Bin Sheng sneers, claiming he once hoped for a successor to his legacy. He laments that his wife could only produce a weak, useless insect. He prepares to swing the chair again with renewed, hateful vigor. Bai stands firm, his body glowing with a faint golden aura. He pushes his father back into the corner of the room. He draws a simple steel sword and points it at his father's chest. He warns the man that he will not allow him to touch her again. Bin Sheng freezes, surprised by the sudden defiance in his son's eyes. The man's surprise quickly turns into a fresh wave of violent aggression. He charges forward, his fists coated in crackling black lightning. Bai attempts to parry the strike, his sword vibrating with the impact. The steel blade snaps in two, unable to withstand the electric force. The father's fist connects with Bai's chest, sending him flying backward. Blood sprays from the boy's nose as he crashes into the wall. Bin Sheng laughs, reveling in his overwhelming superiority and power. He moves like a monster, his movements blurring with electric speed. Bai struggles to stand, his body aching from the brutal assault. He knows he cannot win this fight through raw power alone. The father lifts the chair once more, his shadow looming over them. Suddenly, a thunderous knocking rattles the front door of the apartment. Authoritative voices demand that the residents open the door immediately. Bin Sheng curses the interruption, his face contorted in annoyance. Bai exhales in relief, knowing the inspectors have finally arrived. The man stomps to the door and flings it open with a glare. Two men stand on the threshold wearing the badges of the city investigators. They ask why it took so long to respond to their knock. Bin Sheng recognizes the deputy captain of the local inspection team. The captain explains they are searching for a dangerous wanted criminal. He holds up a digital tablet displaying a grainy photo of a suspect. The father relaxes, seeing the criminal is someone he does not recognize. He tells the officers he has seen the man on the news. He promises to report any suspicious activity to the authorities. The inspector glances past the father into the dim, messy living room. He spots the boy huddled in the corner, his face covered in blood. The officer points a gloved finger toward Bai and narrows his eyes. He asks the father why the boy is in such a battered state. Bin Sheng laughs dismissively, claiming it is merely a family dispute. The captain does not look convinced by the man's casual explanation. He steps over the threshold, his boots clicking on the floor. Bai watches the inspector, hoping for a chance to change his fate. The mother pulls the boy closer, her hands trembling against his arm. The inspector looks at the shattered bottle and the overturned chair. He demands to know if the father has been abusing his family. Bin Sheng's smile fades, replaced by a look of cold indignation. He asserts his right to discipline his own son as he sees fit. The captain ignores him and walks toward the corner of the room. He reaches out a hand, asking the boy if he is in pain. Bai looks at the inspector, his eyes cold and devoid of fear. He realizes that the law might be the weapon he needs today. He speaks clearly, accusing his father of attempted murder and abuse. Bin Sheng lunges forward, his hand crackling with black lightning. The captain reacts instantly, drawing a weapon from his hip holster. A surge of suppression energy fills the room, pinning the father down. Bin Sheng falls to his knees, his electric aura flickering and dying. He growls in frustration, his pride shattered by the sudden restraint. The officers move in, snapping heavy, anti-awakened shackles onto his wrists. The father struggles, but the suppression cuffs neutralize his power. He looks at his son with pure, unadulterated hatred. Bai does not flinch as he watches his father being dragged away. The mother sobs, burying her face in the boy's shoulder. The inspector turns to Bai and asks for a full statement. Bai stands up, his legs shaking, but his resolve hardened. He begins to recount the events of the day, omitting his secret knowledge. The room feels lighter, the oppressive air finally beginning to clear. He looks at his mother and promises that she is safe now. The officers lead Bin Sheng out into the hallway, his shouting muffled. Bai watches them leave, knowing the first step of his plan is complete. He has successfully altered the timeline and saved his mother's life. He feels the system pulse in his mind, awarding him experience points. The path ahead remains dangerous, but he is no longer a victim. He walks to the window and watches the sedan drive away. The city lights flicker in the distance, promising a new, uncertain future. He turns back to his mother, who is finally catching her breath. He knows he must leave soon to continue his secret training. The labyrinth awaits him, filled with monsters and hidden, ancient treasures. He gathers his supplies, keeping his movements quiet and deliberate. His mother watches him with concern, sensing a change in his spirit. She touches his bandaged head, tears still staining her pale cheeks. Bai smiles at her, a look of genuine peace on his face. He promises to return before the sun rises over the horizon. He slips out the door, moving swiftly into the cool night air. The alleyways are empty, the city wrapped in a deep, heavy silence. He reaches the industrial sector, where the rift energy grows stronger. The air shimmers with the violet light of an opening dungeon gate. He steps into the void, ready to claim his true destiny. The monsters within wait for his arrival, their claws sharp and ready. He draws a new blade, his hands steady and his mind focused. He is ready to face the challenges that will make him a legend. The system notification chimes, signaling the start of a new quest. He enters the heart of the dungeon, leaving his old life behind. Linen places a firm hand on the inspector's shoulder. He claims the boy simply tripped while his father was away. The man insists the deputy captain should ignore such a trifle. Bai steps forward and shouts that this story is a lie. He declares clearly that his father beat him with intent. Bin Sheng stares at his son with shock and growing rage. The father never expected such betrayal from the weak boy. 20 minutes earlier, Bai placed a call from a payphone. He alerted the police to the location of the wanted criminal Snow. The boy knew the police would mobilize their full force instantly. Bin Sheng tries to laugh, claiming the boy is just joking. He insists he could never raise a hand against his own child. Bai points to the stool, the bottle, and his bruised skin. He lists the injuries as evidence of systematic domestic abuse. The inspector's expression hardens as he considers the legal consequences. Strict laws govern those who possess awakened powers and lose control. The officer knows the penalty for such crimes is immediate arrest. The inspector announces the formal arrest of the father. Bin Sheng lunges at his son, his face twisted in malice. He screams a curse, calling the boy a worthless bastard. The officers draw their weapons to suppress the man's energy. They warn him that further resistance will result in force. Bin Sheng glares at Bai before the door slams shut. He shouts a final threat that he will return for his son. Ruin rushes to her son and pulls him into a tight embrace. Bai strokes her hair, promising that they are safe now. He calculates he has exactly 15 days until his father's release. The boy knows he must become stronger during this limited window. Bai waits for his mother to fall into a fitful sleep. He creeps silently into his father's private locked room. His fingers tremble as he pulls the stolen key from his pocket. He inserts the key into the heavy, concealed wall safe. The mechanism clicks, and the heavy steel door swings open. In his past life, he only found this cache after his father's death. He reaches inside and pulls out a sharp, gleaming blade. This weapon is the key to clearing the hidden demon caves. Most dungeons are controlled by powerful guilds under divine decree. Only school-sanctioned caves and secret rifts remain accessible to him. Bai leaves the house and heads toward a hidden entrance. The cave's difficulty level remains a dangerous unknown. Inside the local inspection office, Bin Sheng sits behind iron bars. Guards pace the hallway, discussing the failed search for Snow. They worry that their lack of progress will anger the captain. Bin Sheng bangs his fists against the metal cage bars. He begs the deputy inspector to show him some mercy. He mentions the deputy's upcoming child and a private care center. The officer realizes the prisoner is attempting a desperate bribe. He slams the cell door shut to silence the man's voice. He warns the prisoner to wait quietly for his prison transfer. Bin Sheng sits in the shadows, his eyes burning with hatred. He vows to destroy his son once he finally escapes. Bai stands before the shimmering, swirling portal of a rift. These demon caves are parallel spaces filled with hazardous ore. Guilds usually claim these areas the moment they are discovered. This cave remained hidden, likely shielded by its own magic. The boy steps through the threshold into a frozen wasteland. Icy winds whip against his face as he enters the cavern. Jagged rocks and thick snow cover every inch of the ground. He spots the frozen carcass of a massive white bear. Human skeletons lie scattered near the beast's bleached bones. Bai realizes an E-class ice bear once claimed this territory. A massive, furry paw swings from the darkness toward his head. He ducks, the wind of the strike ruffling his hair. A forest snow wolf lunges from the shadows with jaws agape. The beast is massive, its fur matted with ancient frost. The wolf is clearly a higher level than the young hunter. Bai raises the blade he stole from his father's safe. The wolf crashes into him, but the steel holds firm. He channels his latent energy into a burst of acceleration. He strikes the wolf's throat with a precise, lethal motion. The monster collapses, its blood staining the white snow crimson. The Class A weapon compensates for his lack of raw strength. He pants, his muscles aching from the sudden, violent exertion. He misses the days when he was an L-class warrior. Then, a low, guttural growl echoes from the icy tunnel. Two more silhouettes emerge from the swirling white mist. The smell of blood has drawn the entire hungry pack. A massive king wolf steps forward, its eyes glowing yellow. Bai does not wait for the pack to coordinate their assault. He lunges forward, his speed blurred by his desperate focus. He targets the vulnerable joints of the lead wolf's legs. The blade slices through thick fur and tough, layered muscle. He dances between the snapping jaws of the lesser wolves. His movements are precise, born from years of bitter experience. One by one, the wolves fall to his relentless, sharp strikes. The king wolf howls, but Bai drives the blade home. The final beast drops, and a system notification chimes aloud. The boy's class rises to the D rank through sheer effort. He leans on his sword, his body dripping with sweat. He has killed 20 wolves, but his energy is nearly depleted. The cavern floor is littered with the bodies of his foes. He knows this is only the beginning of his climb. He breathes in the cold air, his eyes searching the dark. He will not stop until he reaches the top of the world. Bai gathers the scattered magic stones from the frozen floor. His spatial backpack bulges as he stores the valuable trophies. The E-class beast bodies possess low endurance and break down quickly. He knows that most demon caves remain under the control of powerful guilds. Solo awakeners struggle to level up without access to these lucrative zones. The Snow Wolf's diamond remains highly durable for crafting specialized weapons. Bai identifies that joining the Divine Core Guild team is his only path. Awakening schools exist purely to scout talent for these massive organizations. Graduation serves as the primary gateway for students to secure a stable future. Dismissal from a guild often results in a permanent halt to one's advancement. His father suffered this exact fate, remaining trapped at C-class for his entire career. The biting cold of the cave drains his stamina with every passing second. He watches the remaining pack of snow wolves circling in the distance. A bold, reckless plan begins to take shape in his mind. Bai turns and sprints away from the pack at top speed. He zigzags across the uneven terrain to confuse his pursuers. The wolves struggle to track his movements through the swirling frost. He circles back toward a clearing filled with diverse demonic beasts. A large group of cloud pythons waits among the jagged rock formations. Bai draws his blade and strikes a nearby stone wall with immense force. The resulting explosion of sound echoes through the deep cavern tunnels. Growls erupt from every corner as the monsters awaken to the disturbance. A massive ice bear emerges from the mist in a blind rage. The beast charges forward and begins tearing into the surrounding pythons. Bai dodges a sweeping paw and watches the bear crush a wolf. The berserk monster clears the path, saving the young man precious energy. He waits for the perfect moment to deliver a finishing strike. A pack of forest wolves lunges toward him, their eyes glowing with hunger. His body aches, and his stamina levels reach a critical low. Bai grips his dagger tightly with both hands for the next phase. He thrusts his blade deep into the frozen ground beneath his feet. A shockwave ripples outward, trapping the nearby monsters in place. He realizes the ground is not a lake, but a fragile bridge of ice. The structure beneath them begins to groan under the sudden pressure. Cracks spiderweb across the surface as the bridge starts to collapse. Many of the monsters slide into the abyss as the ice gives way. Bai clings to a protruding rock as the bridge shatters around him. A massive boulder blocks his path, forcing him to climb higher. He destroys the remaining wolves, feeling his combat stats begin to climb. Every demonic cave holds a final boss waiting in the shadows. The destruction of the bridge should have alerted the cave's true guardian. He stares at the ice bear, realizing it was merely a distraction. A sudden, chilling wave of magic washes over the entire cavern. The air turns brittle as frost begins to coat every surface. Bai senses the source of the radiation hidden deep within the ice. The final boss lunges from the darkness to tear him apart. The bear and wolves freeze solid, becoming statues of jagged ice. Bai turns to sprint, but the cold catches his ankles instantly. The ice climbs his legs, locking him into a rigid prison. He stands on the edge of the collapsing bridge, completely immobilized. The true boss of the cave reveals itself from the swirling mist. It is an intelligent cloud-type elemental demon, master of the azure forest. Huge monkey demons follow behind, clutching heavy clubs in their hands. The lord of the forest watches Bai with a cruel, hungry gaze. The young man struggles to breathe as the temperature plummets further. Death feels imminent as the boss approaches to claim its prize. Bai channels his remaining inner energy into a single, desperate burst. He parries the first incoming strike from a monkey demon. The force of the impact reflects the physical damage back onto the monster. He shatters the ice around his legs, though the effort exhausts him. His endurance reserves flicker, leaving him gasping for air. The ice bear thaws suddenly and charges toward the boss. Bai recalls that nuclear energy acts as an opposite to the cloud element. He must leverage this reaction to survive the encounter. He barely avoids a club swing, his body swaying from extreme fatigue. The environment turns hostile, his skin turning pale from the lack of heat. The boss laughs inwardly, confident that the human has no moves left. Suddenly, an icy storm erupts, obscuring the vision of the demons. Bai recognizes that his skill cooldown has finally expired. He recalls his past life and the trials that honed his perception. He looks at the cliff edge, his only remaining option for escape. He leaps toward the chasm, hoping to land in the water below. A tendril of ice snakes out and freezes his leg in midair. The frost travels upward, turning the boy into a frozen statue. The bridge snaps completely, sending him falling into the dark ravine. Back at home, a knock echoes against the door of his bedroom. Ruin enters the room, expecting to find her son sleeping late. The bed remains empty, the sheets cold and undisturbed. A note sits on the bedside table, written in Bai's handwriting. She notes the suspicious nature of the message, as he never left notes. Ruin senses that the boy who returned from school is not her son. Deep in the gorge, an underground river flows through the darkness. Debris from the dead demonic beasts floats along the churning current. Bai hits the water with a splash, the cold numbing his senses. He counts the bodies of his foes as they drift past him. The fall was lethal, but the river provides a slim chance of survival. The freezing river water drags Bai into the dark depths. He struggles to break the thick ice surrounding his body. The effort drains the last of his remaining stamina. Blood flows from his wounds into the swirling current. His vision blurs as hypothermia begins to set in. A massive, shadowy figure looms on the muddy riverbank. It is the Ice Lord, a saber-toothed tiger of the cloud element. Fragments of his past life flash through his dying mind. He hears the phantom clink of glasses at a celebratory banquet. Linu reaches out with a desperate, ghostly desire to hug him. Lucian asks if they can quietly share a meal of foie gras. A hooded teammate points at a databoard and begs for guidance. His mother appears, her eyes wide with worry about his headache. The final boss of the cave watches him with a cruel intent. His father looms in the corner, wishing his son to perish. Blood stains the walls of his memory until the vision fades. Bai gasps for air as he snaps out of the nightmare. He stares at the rushing water and refuses to accept defeat. Past regrets are merely ghosts of a life already lived. The Ice Lord growls, its fangs dripping with lethal frost. Bai lunges forward and grabs the monster by its massive tusks. He lacks the time to draw his blade from its sheath. The young hunter fights with the raw desperation of a cornered animal. His hands grip the frozen bone like a dentist pulling a tooth. He refuses to repeat the tragic failures of his previous existence. With a final, bone-crushing heave, he tears the beast apart. A surge of golden energy erupts from his core. His body begins to glow as his internal stats skyrocket. Desperation has forced a violent, sudden increase in his class. Bai stands firm, his confidence restored by the sudden power. The ice bridge jump was a gamble that finally paid off. He tallies the points earned from the carnage of his enemies. The Ice Lord shrieks in agony as its signature fangs shatter. Bai channels his adrenaline into a focused, lethal strike. His body undergoes a rapid process of physical enhancement. He fails to level up, but gains an advanced combat skill. The core of a holy swordsman settles deep within his chest. It is time to clear the remaining monsters from the cave. He moves like a blur, felling creatures with single blows. Bai activates the Pure Land skill to slice through his foes. A single sweep of his hand cuts down a dozen beasts. The Ice Lord falls, defeated by the hunter's newfound strength. Experience points flood his system, restoring his missing health. His endurance bar refills as he gains the Wanderer of the Icefields title. The cold air no longer bites at his exposed skin. He prepares to master the ultimate skill, Sanctuary. He reaches the 8th level of the E-class with ease. Sanctuary builds up by absorbing the damage of incoming attacks. He climbs the jagged rock wall toward the final boss's lair. The skill restores his stamina as he scales the frozen cliff. A gazebo-like structure appears at the top of the gorge. Monkeys hang from the rafters, their bodies frozen in sleep. The final boss sits in the back, staring at the intruder. Bai tosses the carcass of the ice bear into the room. He greets the monster with a cold, sharp promise of violence. Ruin paces her bedroom floor, her hands trembling with anxiety. The apartment remains silent, empty of her son's presence. She wonders if he has returned from his school day safely. Bai stands in the cave, ready to dismantle the boss's guard. Several elite monkey defenders leap from the shadows to intercept him. He needs to clear this path to finally return home. The bear's corpse crushes the first wave of incoming wolves. A monkey guard charges over the pile of mangled fur. Bai meets the attack with a calm, precise counterstrike. He rips the monster's belly open with a single fluid motion. The final boss watches the slaughter, realizing he is next. The king of the cloud mages attacks with a heavy wooden staff. An icy storm swirls around the room, chilling the air. Bai ignores the cold, his resistance making the storm harmless. He ignores the frost and lunges straight for the boss. The monkey guards swarm him, desperate to defend their master. Bai grows impatient, longing only for the comfort of his home. He knows this victory will push him into the D-class. Lightning flash arcs from his fingers, vaporizing the guards. He swings his blade in a wide, punishing horizontal arc. The boss's arm and staff fly through the air, severed cleanly. Blood sprays across the floor as the king stumbles back. Bai finishes the fight with a relentless series of slashes. The king of the Blue Forest collapses, defeated at last. 1,000 experience points transfer to his account. His status upgrades to a D-class nuclear fighter. Loot items scatter across the floor, waiting to be claimed. A notification pings, signaling the awakening of a new profession. He has earned the rare title of Cloud Mage. The profession offers massive stat bonuses and tactical flexibility. He switches modes, feeling the new magic flow through his veins. He points his staff at the remaining demons to test his power. Back home, Ruin sits by the window, watching the street. The apartment door creaks open, and Bai steps inside. He apologizes to his mother for his long, unexpected absence. He holds a heavy bag filled with his scavenged treasures. Ruin rushes forward, tears streaming down her face as she hugs him. Bai suggests they leave their current life behind forever. He pulls a dozen high-value artifacts from his magic bag. He meets a buyer and displays the glowing magic stones. The merchant offers a low price, hoping to cheat the boy. Bai refuses the deal, knowing the true worth of the cores. He remembers the tricks of merchants from his past life. He secures a massive profit from a more honest trader. With the new funds, he rents a modern, spacious apartment. Ruin stares at the new home, her eyes wide with disbelief. She has never known such comfort in all her years. Bai watches her smile, determined to give her a better life. The move is completed before the sun sets that evening. His mother laughs as she explores the bright, clean rooms. He feels the weight of the past finally lift from his shoulders. The future stretches ahead, full of potential and new power. He hides his secrets behind a calm, confident exterior. His mother prepares dinner, unaware of the monsters he just slew. Bai stands on the balcony, watching the city lights flicker. He knows the world is far more dangerous than it appears. He will continue to grow, protecting his family at any cost. His life as a hunter has only just truly begun. Bai sits on his bed in the new, quiet apartment. He counts his progress after his first day away from the old home. His status has climbed to D-class, and he possesses a new, powerful profession. His thoughts drift to his father, still trapped behind prison walls. He knows he cannot pursue his revenge until that debt is paid. The young man picks up a raw chunk of mana ore from his desk. He begins to carve the stone with a small, precise chisel. He infuses the rock with a swirling, volatile elemental charge. The finished stone hums with energy, increasing magic effects by 50%. He slips the charm into his pocket for the following school day. Elsewhere, a man steps through a shimmering, translucent portal window. His assistants track his vitals, noting a significant increase in power output. His sister approaches him with a water bottle, urging him to rest. The young man tosses the bottle aside, refusing to stop his training. This is Hong Chong Sheng, a student obsessed with absolute dominance. He demands to move immediately to the next maze for further practice. He wants to prove to the entire academy that he is the only genius. The sister stands by a wide window, scanning data on a clipboard. She confirms that no golden-tier professions appeared among this year's Awakened. She finds the upcoming combat simulation reports lacking any real threats. Monday morning sunlight spills into the kitchen of the new apartment. Ruin sets a steaming breakfast on the table, smiling at her son. Bai shovels food into his mouth, moving with frantic, desperate energy. He realizes he has overslept and complains that his mother did not wake him. Ruin admits she could not bring herself to disturb his peaceful, rare slumber. Bai pauses, remembering that this was his first truly deep sleep in years. He enjoys the rare luxury of a breakfast shared in a safe home. Ruin points to the wall calendar, asking what gift he wants for his birthday. Bai stares at the marked date on the upcoming Friday. He had been so focused on his survival that he completely forgot the day. Nobody has celebrated his birthday since the tragic death of his mother. He searches his mind but realizes he has everything he currently needs. His true desire is singular and cold, to kill the man in the dreadlocked mask. That villain destroyed his entire team in his past, broken life. The Academy of the Awakened bustles with students returning from their weekend. A teacher stands before the class, announcing the start of hellish combat simulations. He stresses that the Divine Guild is monitoring every single move they make. This simulation serves as the final graduation assessment for the secondary school. The entire event is scheduled to be broadcast live to the public. The top participant will earn a spot in the elite high school level-up program. Every student in the room stares at the instructor with hungry eyes. The best performers will be sent to the Divine Guild's central headquarters, Sheni. The name triggers a sharp, painful memory in Bai's mind. He met his master at that headquarters during his previous life. The man with the dreadlocks also originated from that same corrupt guild. To find his enemy, he must secure a top rank in this assessment. His classmates whisper nervously about the rumored demonic cave setting. The instructor leads them to the gravity-enhanced training hall. They are ordered to complete 10 shuttle runs to test their physical endurance. Some students boast, claiming they can easily double the required workload. Bai approaches the teacher, firmly stating that he refuses to train here. The teacher frowns, referencing the recent fight Bai won in the courtyard. He warns that winning a brawl does not guarantee victory without proper conditioning. Bai argues that shuttle runs are only useful for physical-based professions. He insists that magicians require training in elemental control, not cardiovascular speed. The teacher's face reddens as he processes the student's blatant insubordination. Xian watches the exchange from the corner of the room. She recognizes the specific training method Bai is currently describing. It was a secret technique recently proposed by an instructor from the Divine Corps. She wonders how a common student could possibly know such classified information. A bespectacled boy whispers, begging Bai to stop arguing with their authority. The teacher remains silent, weighing the boy's unexpected logical challenge. He admits the suggested method is intriguing, even if unconventional. He explains that a school with so many students cannot cater to every individual. A failed simulation could permanently ruin a student's career prospects. Bai looks the teacher in the eye, asking for a single chance to prove himself. He requests that the Hall of Elements be set to maximum neutralization. The classmates gasp, confused by the concept of such advanced, dangerous training. Bai claims he wants to balance his warrior skills with broader elemental utility. Xian steps forward, declaring that she also intends to train her magic control. The teacher sighs, granting their request, but warning them against public failure. Xian offers to train with Bai, but he rejects the offer, heading off alone. The bespectacled boy watches them leave, wishing he could avoid the grueling run. The teacher forces the boy back onto the track to begin his laps. Bai knows he must master his secondary profession in secret. He cannot let the Divine Guild discover his ability to learn multiple paths. His survival depends on keeping his true power hidden from their surveillance. Xian follows him, determined not to let him outshine her magical talent. The school day finally ends, and the students stream toward the exits. Bai moves to his bike, but two classmates call out his name. In his previous life, these boys were the only friends he had. They were both outcasts who suffered through bullying and isolation together. The bespectacled boy asks him to stay, complaining of his exhaustion. Bai looks at them, seeing only potential distractions from his singular goal. He knows that nostalgia is a luxury he can no longer afford. He ignores their pleas and pedals away, leaving them behind in the dust. Bai pedals his bike away from the school gates. His former friends stand frozen, watching him disappear into the distance. They share a look of confusion, unable to grasp his sudden, cold detachment. The bespectacled boy stares at the retreating back of his companion. He notes that his friend seems sharper, faster, and entirely different. Bai suddenly skids to a halt at the edge of the street. He turns his head, waiting for the two boys to catch up. The bespectacled boy jogs toward him, panting with exertion. Bai looks him in the eye and tells him to visit a doctor immediately. He warns the boy that his lungs require a professional medical checkup. The boy stares, bewildered by the strange, unsolicited health advice. He had hoped for a friendly walk home together, not a lecture. Bai offers no further pleasantries, turning his handlebars away. He pedals off again, leaving the boy standing in the middle of the sidewalk. Bai remembers the future where his friend died young from a lung disease. He knows that even if they are not friends now, he must prevent that tragedy. A high school training ground named Holy Nation sits near the ocean. A man lounges on a beach chair, soaking up the afternoon sun. He mentions rumors of a newcomer who impressed the Divine Guild. The man with dreadlocks stands nearby, listening to the gossip with a smirk. He declares that he intends to introduce himself to the guildmaster. Back at home, Bai sets the dinner table for his mother. He asks her to avoid leaving the house alone during the evening hours. His mother smiles, promising to follow his request for her safety. Bai watches her happiness but feels a cold resolve tightening in his chest. He decides he must provide her with a more secure, permanent life. In the dark prison of the Awakened, inmates line up for their evening meal. They shuffle toward the serving window, moving in a practiced, weary rhythm. One prisoner, Lin Shang, surreptitiously hands a bribe to the guard. The guard nods, whispering that the arrangements for his release are complete. The next morning, the school campus buzzes with the sound of training. Bai stands in the hall, focusing on his elemental control. He calculates the timing and output required for his magical maneuvers. Nearby, a student struggles through a grueling, high-intensity lap run. The bespectacled boy performs push-ups on the mat, sweat dripping onto the floor. Bai finishes his session, feeling satisfied with his current progress. He heads toward the exit, but his friends call out to him. They suggest a dinner outing to celebrate the end of their training. Bai declines the invitation, citing his need to return home early. He notes that his friend's archery skill requires better mobility training. The bespectacled boy visits the school hospital later that afternoon. The doctor examines his chest and looks at the test results with concern. He reveals that a parasitic tumor is growing rapidly inside the boy's lungs. He urges the student to schedule surgery at the city hospital immediately. The boy leaves the office, shaken by the reality of his own mortality. He cannot stop thinking about Bai's strange, accurate warning. A group of high schoolers stands near the hospital entrance. They gossip about Hong Chang, who has been leveling up rapidly. The student whispers that Hong owns a private demonic cave for training. The bespectacled boy overhears them plotting a trap for Bai. They say Hong plans to ambush the boy who humiliated him last week. The bespectacled boy realizes his friend is in grave danger. He knows the seniors will use weapons to finish the fight. He hesitates, feeling the weight of his own lack of combat skill. He looks at the school equipment room, which is locked with a heavy padlock. A sudden, desperate idea forms in his mind. He grabs a heavy tool and smashes the lock, forcing the door open. Inside, he finds a cache of weapons stored for the students. He selects an axe, determined to fight for his friend's life. He runs toward the exit, but Shi-Yin blocks his path. She stares at the weapon in his hand, demanding an explanation. The boy admits he is rushing to save Bai from an ambush. Meanwhile, Bai walks his bike through a narrow, shadowed city alley. He stops walking and speaks to the darkness behind him. He commands his pursuer to step out, having noticed him for blocks. Hong Chang emerges from the corner, his face twisted in rage. He holds a weapon, his eyes locked on his intended target. Bai remains calm, asking if he truly believes he can win. Hong lunges forward, utilizing a speed-boosting technique he practiced all week. He swings his weapon at Bai's exposed back. Bai moves instantly, his own weapon appearing in his grip. He deflects the strike and slices Hong's weapon clean in half. Hong stumbles back, shock registering on his face as he sees the broken steel. Bai tells him that he is not the only one who improved over the weekend. He pins Hong against the wall, holding his blade to the opponent's throat. The battle ends as quickly as it began. Hong stares at the blade, realizing he has been completely outclassed. He shouts in frustration, demanding to know how Bai grew so fast. Bai asks if he has ever experienced the true finality of death. Hong remains silent, his pride shattered by the swift defeat. Bai lets him go, realizing he does not harbor true hatred for him. He notes that Hong came alone to test his strength fairly. Hong stands up, humiliated and trembling with suppressed rage. He threatens to kill Bai during their next encounter. The rescue team, including the bespectacled boy and Shi-Yin, watches from behind trash cans. They realize they are not needed in this one-sided struggle. Bai turns to Hong, offering him a deal for his future strength. He promises to teach him how to improve if he agrees to a condition. The final day of the training week arrives on the school calendar. All students assemble in the main training hall for the assessment. The school dean and teacher Hang stand on the stage. The instructor addresses the crowd, explaining the nature of the simulation. He warns them that they are entering a real, hazardous maze. A barrier seals most of the danger, but the threat remains lethal. Monsters roam the cave, forcing the students to rely on their own skills. He announces that seniors will accompany them to ensure basic safety. The students listen, their expressions shifting from excitement to grim focus. Bai checks his gear, ready for the challenge ahead. He looks at the entrance to the maze, sensing the familiar energy. The doors creak open, revealing the dark, cavernous path inside. The coach stands before the assembled student body in the vast training hall. He explains that teams of 4 will venture into the dungeon today. Each team must include one senior student to act as a supervisor. The students scan the list of available F-class and E-class training caves. Many students whisper nervously about the difficulty of the E-class dungeons. Failure to complete the simulation results in a significant loss of academic points. The coach asks for volunteers willing to challenge the dangerous E-class maze. Only 8 students out of 180 raise their hands. Shi-in stands tall among the small group of courageous volunteers. The bespectacled boy watches them with awe, whispering to his friend nearby. He guesses that most of those students lack the rare green profession. The rest of the students prepare for the mandatory F-class maze assignments. Bai steps forward, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the crowd.